Hello, 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 and welcome to Walk Talk Health. So, disease and aging is primarily down to two factors: DNA damage and chronic inflammation. As the channel name suggests, you and I are going to take an amazing walk today and discuss a topic to address this. But if you combine the topics we discuss over a series of these walk and talks, you can have a major effect on your health, your well-being, longevity, and you really can live longer, healthier. So where are we today? We're at the Monte Rio Redwood Trail near Occidental in California. This is a beautiful trail. It winds its way up a pretty steep hill. It's roughly 2.9 miles in total, but you climb 500 feet elevation in roughly 1.5 miles. So it's another one of those walks where you may hear me huffing and puffing a bit, but trust me, it's a beautiful walk and you don't want to miss it. So today we're going to be covering the simple activity, but the huge benefits we get from breathing. Civilizations for thousands of years have used breath work for healing and well-being, and we'll discuss some of those civilizations later on. What we're going to do is we're going to basically cover initially an amazing list of health benefits that a simple thing like breathing can achieve. We're then going to look at exactly how does it achieve those results and why that's important. Finally, we're going to move on to an actual demonstration of breath work. Part of it will be time-lapse, so you're not going to sit through the whole thing. And then I'll be sharing the actual results that I've achieved in terms of blood pressure, heart rate, etc., as monitored by my Aura ring, more on that later, and a blood pressure device. That'll be at the end, and I think you'll be amazed by the results. As the Monte Rio Redwood Trail would suggest, there are plenty of redwoods. As always, these things are magnificent. Beautiful. Let's take a look at that list of benefits then. So the first thing it does is activates the parasympathetic nervous system. That's the body's rest, digest and heal mode. It reduces the production of cortisol. It reduces therefore stress. It increases blood flow and nutrient delivery and reduces blood pressure. It increases oxygen flow throughout the body and also increases something called nitric oxide, which we'll get into later. And finally, it helps us focus, and the big one is it generally overall reduces inflammation in the body. Here's the road I mentioned. We have to go basically up and over to there. So here's the start of the uphill climb, and right off the bat you can see we're starting to go up quite steeply, but the path is nice and winding and basically surrounded by beautiful trees and redwoods. How does something as simple as breathing achieve all those amazing benefits? Well, it's primarily down to two things: the increased amount of oxygen and that all-important activation of the parasympathetic nervous system. If you think about it, you already know that there are benefits in breathing. Have you ever had one of those stressful situations, and at the end of that stressful situation and it's all over and you kind of go, thank goodness for that, and you automatically somehow feel calmer and you can feel the stress fade away? Well, these breathing techniques we're going to discuss today basically supercharge that effect. By deep breathing, what we're doing in effect is we are fully engaging the diaphragm, and as a result that leaves more space for the lungs to expand, and therefore we actually take in a lot more oxygen on every single breath. More oxygen in the blood means more energy. During the process of doing the deep breathing, you'll actually have evidence that that's in fact the case. You'll probably feel the sensation of tingling in your extremities and your feet and your hands. This is basically the increased blood flow and the oxygen reaching the extremities of your body. Let's start off with something called HRV, that's heart rate variability, which basically means the amount of milliseconds between heartbeats, and the higher that gap, the more your body is capable of dealing with both mental and physical stress. As we'll see later on when we look at my breathing results, you can see how this is increased incredibly by a simple technique of breathing. The parasympathetic nervous system, actually via the vagus nerve, and the vagus nerve is this enormous nerve that goes from the brain to the heart and then to every internal organ, actually signals the adrenal glands to reduce production of cortisol, which is the stress hormone. This in turn reduces inflammation throughout the body, and we know that inflammation causes disease. It then allows the body, instead of trying to repair that inflammation, put its energy into cell growth and general repair for the body. And it also increases blood flow to the digestive tract, which means that we have more blood going where it's needed to absorb all those all-important nutrients from the food we consume. The body uses those extra nutrients as a result of the improved blood flow to increase energy and healing. It also boosts our immune system because it increases the capability and activity of our white blood cells, which obviously are the main cells in the body that fights illness and disease. Finally, because it helps with relaxation and increased HRV, you get a better night's sleep with more deep sleep. We've covered that previously, how deep sleep is when the body actually does its repair processes. So how does breathing achieve that amazing list of benefits we discussed at the beginning of the video? Well, let's start with oxygen. By taking in more oxygen, we make sure that it reaches every cell in our body. I mentioned that you might feel tingling in your extremities if you carry out this breath technique. That tells us that oxygen is reaching the mitochondria. The mitochondria are the powerhouse of our cell. Every cell in our body has many mitochondria, and their sole job is to produce energy by burning ATP, covered in the previous video, and oxygen. Then we get the increased nitric oxide. So this is produced in our body predominantly in our nasal passages. So breathing in through the nose means we're going to inhale more of that amazing nitric oxide. And what this is, again previously covered, is a vasodilator. It dilates every blood vessel in our body and relaxes it, allowing blood to flow more freely. If the blood flows more freely, then more oxygen and nutrients again reach our cells, reach the mitochondria, and help them with the energy that we use for growth and repair. The other benefit to the nitric oxide is that by relaxing the blood vessels in our body, so veins, arteries, capillaries, it reduces blood pressure, and we all know where high blood pressure leads to in terms of heart issues. The benefits to the brain in terms of focus is also brought on by the increase in oxygen and the increase in blood flow. Both of those help both the mitochondria in the brain and our brain neurons perform better, and as a result we get that improved focus. The big one is the reduction in inflammation. With more relaxed body generally in terms of the nervous system, with better blood flow and better nutrients, more energy for repair and growth, we end up with less inflammation. And inflammation, as we know, causes metabolic disease. Okay, this is where I ask for your help and a big favour. Before I do, I have to ask, how on earth did this car get 300 feet up this mountain? Any ideas? Put it in the comments. So this channel is in no way monetized. Its sole purpose is to reach as many people as I can to help them on their health journey. So could I ask you please to hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell notification if you want immediate notifications of future videos. Most importantly, please do leave a comment. Let me know where you're watching from, any questions around the topic we've discussed. This helps the algorithm push it out to more people and helps me achieve my goal of helping people live longer, healthier. Thank you. So let's discuss some of those ancient civilizations that have been doing this for thousands of years. For a start, we have in Hinduism through pranayama, that was practiced, records show, up to 1500 years BCE. We then look at the Chinese, and they've been practicing breath work through the Taoist practices for 600 years BCE. The Buddhists had their Anapanasati, and that dates back 500 years BCE, and the Greeks had Stoic breathing, and that dates back to around about 300 years BCE. Now the Egyptians are the king of the practitioners. They actually were talking about breath being the breath of life up to 2000 years BCE. So you have to ask yourself a question: with so many ancient civilizations teaching and passing on the practice of breathing techniques and believing it was the key to health and repair, there must be something in it, right? Okay, we're on the downward leg of the trip now, and I'm going to get some footage in, including some time lapse, which give you an idea of just how amazingly beautiful this trail is. Let's recap. So we know that breath work has been practiced for thousands of years by a number of ancient civilizations. We know it activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which calms the body, reduces the production of cortisol, the stress hormone, which then in turn reduces inflammation within the body. That relaxation helps blood flow better, which means that nutrients and oxygen get to our cells in our body. The oxygen in particular is important. The nitric oxide that we breathe in during the breath work also dilates our blood vessels, allowing again oxygen flow to the cells in our body so that it reaches that all-important mitochondria. The mitochondria obviously then use the oxygen and ATP to produce energy. That energy is then used for both cell growth and repair. The same benefits that the body receives, as in increased oxygen, blood flow, nutrients, reduction in inflammation, helps the brain. It helps us focus, stay sharper, and it helps with memory. Breath work, especially if you do this just before bed, will improve our heart rate variability, and it will also increase the production of melatonin. Both of these things will help you get a better, deeper night's sleep, that all-important deep sleep, which is when the body does most of its repair. All the above, especially the reduction in inflammation in the body, will help us live longer, healthier. Okay, let's try out that breath technique. There's going to be some time lapse in here, saving you watch me breathe for a long period of time. And at the end of it, I'm going to basically exhale fully and hold my breath. If the oxygenation and everything else has worked correctly, I should be able to hold my breath for quite a substantial period of time, and that kind of proves that the oxygen has got into all the organs and the cells of my body. Let's see how it works out. So the first thing to note is there's two parts to the breathing. There's the diaphragm, you mentioned earlier on. By breathing from the diaphragm, it fully extends it, allows the chest to open up and take in more air. And we're basically going to breathe in for the count of 4. We're going to hold it for 4, and we're going to exhale for 6. Let's give it a go. In for 4. Hold for 4. Out for 6. And that big deep breath through the nose at the end helps get extra nitric oxide into our body. Okay, now let's look at the results, the all-important results from doing the breath work for 30 minutes at home as measured by my Oura ring and by a blood pressure monitor. Let's start with the blood pressure monitor first. The initial readings prior to the breathing was 121/70. That means the blood pressure my heart was exerting on the pushing the blood out and around my body was 121, and the returning blood pressure after it had come around my body was 70. My pulse in that occasion was also 80 beats per minute. After the breath work, you can see that has reduced to 107/72. So the external pressure on my heart to pump the blood around my body has dropped considerably from 120 to 107. The returning blood hasn't changed that much, but that's not too important. It's the outward blood pressure that determines the all-important whether we have high blood pressure or not. Now, interestingly, my pulse also dropped down to 72 beats per minute. So, of course, that shows that I was in a more relaxed state at the end of the breathing. Now, let's look at what the Oura ring collected during this 30-minute breathwork session. You can see at the start of the session, my heart rate was at 71 beats per minute. It then reduced down to 61 beats per minute, quite a considerable drop. You can then see that the all-important HRV, heart rate variability, that gives you an idea of how relaxed the body is, how good it is at dealing with stress, also increased, which is what we want to see for HRV, up to 54 milliseconds. Typically, my sleep score during the night was 14 milliseconds. And finally, in the third reading, you can see that my skin temperature increases throughout the breathing, 30 minutes. This tells me that there is increased blood flow and increased oxygen flow and increased oxygen being produced by the mitochondria. All three of these things are increasing my skin temperature, and it's being picked up by the Oura ring. So if you had any doubts about the effectiveness of breathing and whether it really can achieve these amazing benefits, hopefully these results have proved it to you and encourage you to try it for yourself. I hope you've enjoyed today's walk and talk. I certainly have. The trail's been amazing. If nothing else, I hope I've convinced you to try out some breath work. Literally 5 minutes a day is all it takes to derive those amazing benefits. If you join me next time, we're going to be talking about nattokinase. It's derived from the Japanese food natto, which is a fermented soy dish, and the benefits are incredible, and I can't wait to share those with you. I've mentioned a few times on this walk nitric oxide and how important a role that plays in terms of vasodilation and overall health. If you want to find out more about that video, I'd ask you to check out this video here.